Welcome back everyone. So now that we have validated the Solana address that we entered, it's time for building the airdrop part. So let's again start with the function. Let's call it request airdrop. It's again going to be an arrow function, but this time this has to be an asynchronous function because we'll be interacting with the blockchain, Solana blockchain, so that will be an asynchronous call, and we'll have to use the async keyword. So to actually interact with the blockchain, we'll actually have to import one more class from Solana Web3 called as connection. So connection is a class that helps us to establish a connection with a JSON RPC endpoint. If you boil it down, what that simply means is this is what helps us to connect with the Solana testnet or the devnet, whichever one we choose. So first and foremost, we'll have to declare our URL, actually to be more precise, RPC endpoint. So we already know whether the user selected testnet or the devnet using the is testnet state. So I'm just gonna use that, and if the user wants a testnet, then the URL for Solana testnet is this one, api.testnet solana.com, and otherwise it's gonna be api.devnet.solana.com. so that will be our node RPC. Cool. The next thing we have to do is actually establish a connection. So we'll again declare a variable called connection, and then what we have to do is do a new instance of connection with the node RPC that we declared above. So this will actually create a new connection of instance for whichever one, whether it be testnet or devnet. Alright, now finally we can just do confirmation equal to connection dot request airdrop. So request airdrop is actually the function that will airdrop us the tokens. So as you can see, it takes in two parameters, a public key, which is the address to which we want the tokens to be airdrop, and second is the amount, which is in lampots. So lampots is a fractional unit of sol. So just like Gwei is to Ether of Ethereum, lampots is to sol of Solana. So in conversion terms, one sol is equivalent to 1 billion lampots. So that's like 1 followed by 9 zeros. So first and foremost, we'll just input our address here. So we'll have to make it a public key and not a string. So we'll just do new public key of address, and the second part will be one sol, but we'll have to specify it in lamport. So one sol equals 1 billion lamport, so that's 1 followed by 9 zeros. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, there we go. And also we'll have to await this call because this will have to go to the blockchain, and it will return a transaction hash if it is successful, otherwise it will fail. So obviously, since this can throw an error, we'll have to put this inside a try catch block, which I should have done earlier. I'm just gonna copy the catch block here to the end. So yeah, there we go. Cool. So now that we have the confirmation, let's just show a toaster to the user if it is successful. So I already have toast here that I've copied earlier and kept, and we're gonna have to define the toaster for chakra UI. So const toast equals use toast hook. We can use that to get our toaster here. So this is nothing, this is simply a message that we display if it is successful. So we just say airdrop is successful, please check your Solana wallet or Solana Explorer and the transaction hash, and we just print out the transaction hash which we got from request airdrop function in case if it is successful. And if it's not, we'll console log the error, and also we'll just give a error message, say something like something went wrong and airdrop failed. and the status will be an error, so that a user knows. It will be a red color one. Cool. So next final thing is we'll have to use this airdrop function. So we'll put this on the button. So on click event listener of the button, we click this button, we're gonna call the request airdrop function. So we're gonna pass a reference into that. Cool. Now one last thing that you may have noticed that we are missing is let's say if I enter the address correctly, we have the button enabled, all good, but if I click the button for the airdrop and the airdrop is still in progress, the button will still be enabled here. So there won't be any loading animations or anything to let the user know that the transaction is being processed. So let's do that first. So I'm just going to declare another state called loading and set loading will be a function, set it, and it will be by default false, and it will be of type boolean. And when we are about to call the let's put it here, call the request airdrop, we're just gonna do set loading of true, so that will start loading. And once it's successful, we're just gonna set it back to false. Same thing if the error occurs, like the error happens, we don't want it to keep loading forever, so I'm gonna put set loading as false there as well if it is an error. And finally in the button there is a property called is loading, and this loading will give it as loading. So if it is loading and the loading part is true, then we'll actually get a spinner for the button. So that's what that's about. So that's pretty much it. Let's just test it out real quick. We just have on the devnet currently I have one soul. It's gonna copy my address. If I type anything, it won't come because we verified it. Paste in the correct address, it comes on. Boom, airdrop is successful. I get the transaction hash. As you can see, you saw the loading animation. Let's just check, and I have 2 souls, so I've just been airdrop 1 soul. So yeah, that's all good. One final thing, just for security measure, so user can this app can be a target for bot attacks. So thousands of bots can swarm, attack, or like whatever. So it's always the best practice to introduce a captcha to make sure that you're a human being, so we actually know the utility of that one. So we're gonna do that first. But before that, one more thing, we'll have to clear out this address input box if the airdrop is successful. So I'm just gonna do that real quick, otherwise it kind of looks awkward. So set address of empty string if the airdrop is successful. So I'm just gonna set that to empty string, so that will get cleared out. Cool. So next thing is our captcha. Alright, so for captcha we're going to use a package called react google reCAPTCHA. Thank God open sourcers or whoever built this, God bless. And yeah, so you have to install it using npm. Already done that, it's already there, so just install it. And next thing you have to do is inside this you have to go to sign up for an API key pair. Click on that and just give a label. So in my case I'm gonna call it Stardust Soul Faucet, maybe. Yeah, select reCAPTCHA v2. I'm not a robot checkbox. Add a domain. So for now we'll just add localhost since we are testing it in local, but we'll come back to this later to add more domains when we're deploying it. Accept it. Also make sure that you have logged into your Gmail account because it's a Google Captcha, and then click on submit. Cool. Then you'll be given this side key as well as secret key. Make sure that you'll be keeping this a secret. So since I have I'll be changing this key, I'm just showing it here, but make sure that this is a secret. So I'm just going to copy this. Second thing, we'll have to implement the captcha part. So let's import the reCAPTCHA from the package which we have already installed. On top, here we go. sometimes the TypeScript might also throw an error, so you can just hover on this and will have to install an additional type, using npm for this to make that error go away. So yeah, that's another perk of using TypeScript, because it actually tells you what the error is and how you can rectify it. So I go there. So let's just copy this reCAPTCHA, and we're gonna put this in between our input and the button, just like that. So you can see it takes in two parameters, this reCAPTCHA component, the side key which we saw earlier, and an onChange function. So onChange function is what runs if the CAPTCHA is actually successfully cleared by the user. So we can see that there is an onChange function here. I'm just gonna take that just like that, now paste it here. So this is the function that will run in case if the CAPTCHA is actually successful. So before that, we'll have to add the side key. Now we can actually just copy and paste it here just like this, although that's definitely not recommended, because you can guess why. It will be on GitHub and on public repositories, so it can be targeted. So the always the best prescribed method is to create an env file. So you can see that in my root directory I've already created that. You can just create a .env.local file for Next.js, and then create a side key, a key like this, and paste your side key here, the side key that I've copied. Okay, and second thing is, this will only be available on the server side if we do it like this. So to actually include it in the client side in the JavaScript bundle, you can also see another file called as next.config.js. You have to come to this and add a new key just like this, env, in module.exports, just add like a key like this, env, which will be an object and side key, and this will actually be taking from process.env.sidekey, which we added earlier in the env.local file. So those two steps you will have to do just to configure it in the best possible way. So when we deploy, we can actually add the environment variable in our deployment environment, and not store it in any repo or anything. So the same thing, we're just gonna remove it from here, and we're just gonna do process.env.site_key, if I'm not wrong. Okay, why is that throwing an error? What does this say? Okay, that's weird. Oh, okay, I'm just gonna copy this to a new variable maybe, and let's just try it that way. Const site key, let's give it a type of any for now. I can type correctly, and I'm gonna copy that site key which I've declared, paste here, and yeah, that solves the error. There we go. Save that, come back to restart the server again. Probably must have stuck in the cache or something. So yeah, just restart your server once. So just add it in local env.local, also next.config as we discussed, and then just put it here. Cool. So we have the CAPTCHA as well. So one more thing we need is actually a state to keep track if the CAPTCHA is satisfied. So I'm just gonna call it is human something maybe. Is human, set is human. It's gonna be again use state of boolean. Then in our onChange function which we discussed earlier, like if the CAPTCHA is successful, what we're gonna do is we're gonna set is human to true, and our button should only be enabled. Yeah, so we're gonna have to check it like this. So the button will be disabled if it is not valid, and if it is not a human. So here we go. So even if we input address, it's not gonna show us, so we have to click on I'm not a robot, then the Airdrop button is basically enabled. So yeah, that's it. That's pretty much completes the basic functionality, and in the next one we'll be finally deploying it to Vercel and making it live for all internet to use, and all the thirsty Solana builders to come to a faucet and get some Sol tokens so that they can continue building awesome applications. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.